Right now, somewhere in the cold water off the coast of Washington, a mother is carrying her dead child. She has been carrying it for days. She refuses to let it sink. In 2018, a killer whale known as TAHLEQUAH did exactly this. Her newborn calf lived for about 30 minutes. Then, it died. And TAHLEQUAH pushed its body through the ocean for 17 days, across more than 1,000 miles, lifting it back onto her head every time it slipped away. In 2025, she did it again. When you watch an animal do something like that, a strange question creeps in, a question we almost only ever ask about ourselves. Do animals know they're going to die? Do they understand death at all? Or are they just confused? The answer is stranger and more unsettling than you'd expect, and it might change the way you look at your own pet tonight. Let's start with what we can actually see. Across the animal kingdom, death is not nothing. It stops them. Take elephants. When an elephant finds the bones of a dead elephant, it doesn't just walk past. It stops. It reaches out with its trunk. It runs its feet gently over the skull. Sometimes a whole herd will stand around the bones in silence for hours. And here's the part that's hard to explain away. Researchers at the University of Sussex showed elephants three things: a piece of wood, the skull of a buffalo, and the skull of another elephant. The elephants barely cared about the wood or the buffalo. But the elephant skull, they returned to it again and again. They seemed to know somehow that these particular bones used to be one of them. Then there are chimpanzees. In 1972 at Gombe in Tanzania, a famous old chimp named Flo died. Her son Flint was old enough to survive on his own, but after his mother's death, Flint stopped eating. He stopped socializing. He climbed into the empty nest he used to share with her, and he stayed there. 3.5 weeks later, Flint died too. The scientists who watched it called it grief. Chimpanzees have been seen sitting with their dead for hours. Mothers carry dead infants for days, even weeks. In one case, chimps were filmed gently cleaning the teeth of a dead member of their group, exactly the way they would groom a living friend. And then there are crows. Find a dead crow on the ground, and within minutes the sky can fill with them. Dozens of birds, screaming, circling, refusing to leave. So this looks obvious, right? Animals grieve. Animals mourn. Animals understand death. But here's the problem. Reacting to a dead body is not the same thing as understanding death. A mother orca carrying her calf might be grieving. Or she might simply not understand that her baby is gone and is waiting for it to wake up. So which is it? To answer that, scientists first had to ask a much harder question: what does it even mean to understand death? There's an actual field of science for this now. It's called comparative thanatology, the study of how animals respond to the dead. And one of its leading thinkers, a philosopher named Susanna Monceau, argues that we've been asking the question completely backwards. When we picture understanding death, we imagine the full human version, knowing that you, personally, will die one day, and lying awake, dreading it. That's an enormously complex idea, so we assume animals can't have any concept of death at all. But Monceau says there's a much simpler version. She calls it a minimal concept of death, and it only requires understanding two things. One, a dead thing stops working. It doesn't move, doesn't eat, doesn't respond. Two, it's permanent. It is not coming back. That's it. Stopped and forever. And once you define it that way, something incredible happens. The concept of death stops looking rare and starts looking like it's everywhere. The proof is hiding in the strangest place. Think about an animal that plays dead. When an opossum is cornered, it collapses. It goes limp. Its body cools. Its heart rate crashes. Its glands even leak a smell like a rotting corpse. Why? Because it is betting that the predator about to eat it has a concept of death. A predator that knows what a dead, rotting animal is, and knows to leave it alone. For playing dead to work at all, the animal you're fooling has to understand death well enough to be fooled. So death awareness isn't only in the prey, it's in the predator too. Now go back to those crows. In 2015, two biologists at the University of Washington, Kaylee Swift and John Marsluff, ran an experiment. They placed a dead crow in a public space and watched the living crows erupt. The screaming, the mobbing, the so-called funeral. But it wasn't sentimental. It was strategic. The crows were studying the scene. They memorized the place where a crow had died and the face of whoever stood near the body, and they remembered it for weeks. A dead crow to a living crow means one thing. Something dangerous happened here, and I need to learn from it. That isn't mourning. That's something colder and arguably smarter. It's using death to stay alive. So some animals clearly grasp that death is real and that it's permanent. But there is one final line, and almost no animal seems able to cross it. Knowing that others die is one thing. Knowing that you will die is something else entirely, because that takes a strange mental trick. You have to be aware of yourself as a you, and then you have to imagine a future, a specific future where that you no longer exists. A handful of animals pass the first step. Hold a mirror up to a chimp, an elephant, a dolphin, or a magpie, and they recognize themselves. Most animals can't. They think it's a stranger. But these few seem to understand. That's me. And yet, even for these self-aware animals, there is almost no evidence that any of them sits and contemplates its own future death. The dread of your own ending, the quiet knowledge that the clock is ticking on you specifically, as far as we can tell, that one might belong to humans alone. But here's the thought that's hard to shake. Animals like TAHLEQUAH, the elephant standing over the bones, Flint climbing into his dead mother's nest. They may feel the loss. They may understand the absence and the permanence and the fact that gone means gone. But they have none of the things we built to survive that feeling. We invented religion, funerals, heaven, stories, an entire scaffolding of meaning designed to make death bearable. Animals have none of it. They may have the wound without the bandage. They feel someone vanish forever, and they have nothing, nothing at all, to explain it away. So, does your dog know it's going to die? Almost certainly not. It doesn't lie awake dreading the end the way you sometimes do. But does it understand death? The science is slowly starting to say far more than we ever gave it credit for. It may understand that a body that stops moving might not start again. That gone can mean gone. That you, walking out that front door every morning, are something that could one day simply not come back. And maybe that is part of what's behind the way it watches you leave. Not the fear of its own death, the fear of yours. Stay curious.